Hi, I'm Brad Healy with Emerson Process Management. We are here to discuss the general features and setup of the Fisher Easy Drive electric actuator mounted on a Fisher D3 or D4 globe valve. Today we're going to dive into the Fisher Easy Drive electric actuator. The Easy Drive was invented to transform onshore oil and gas production control valves and to become more environmentally friendly. Using our patented low-power design, the Easy Drive allows customers to power the valve using 12 or 24 volts DC. And while the valve is at rest, it will consume less than 1 watt of power. Unlike other well-field designs, the Easy Drive electric actuator is highly responsive and can stroke from fully open to fully closed in under 6 seconds. Easy Drive is capable of reaching all rated shutoff capabilities for the Fisher field-proven D3 and D4 valve models. Using the D3 and D4 valve designs also provides an easily retrofittable option to replace your existing pneumatic equipment. As you can see, on the inside of the actuator casing, there is little exposed wiring and all the moving parts are enclosed within the gearbox. For demonstration purposes, we have cut away part of the gearbox on the D4 assembly. Here you can see that the interior of the gearbox is clutter-free and rather simple. For demonstration purposes, part of this gearbox has been cut away. Units leaving the factory will not have these cutaway sections. As seen on the D3 assembly, each gearbox is sealed and contained. This intuitively designed interior and gearbox assembly allows for quick installation, setup, and calibration. We are now going to set up and calibrate the Easy Drive. After discussing positioning and on-off calibrations, you'll be able to install and commission your Easy Drive into a wide array of applications. For safety awareness, as we move forward, please follow the safety precautions located within the instruction manual or follow the protocol at your site. Before we get started, we advise that you have a computer that is capable of communicating Modbus RS-485 protocol. We will be using the Easy Drive configuration software to calibrate and configure important variables. For general field installations, this is not necessary, but does allow you to program the actuator and valve settings that work best with your application. On the table, we have the D3 and D4 valves with the Easy Drive actuator. We will now connect the wiring to the terminals within the Easy Drive on the D4 assembly. For safety purposes, make sure that none of your wires are live during this procedure. Some other wiring practice to follow include: observe local wiring requirements for hazardous location usage. Conduit seals within 450 millimeters or 18 inches of the enclosure port are required for explosion-proof installation. 22 to 12 gauge wire size is required. For long wiring runs, using lower gauge wire is advised. For power, any wire over 50 feet should be 12 gauge. The actuator will demand no more than 4 amps. Therefore, fuse the system to 5 amps. Using shielded wire for both power and signal, connect power and analog signal shields back at the signal source. During initial setup, ensure a stable DC power source is available and sufficiently surge protected for the application. A 4 amp minimum power supply is required. Use of a 36 volt transient voltage suppressor is also highly recommended. First, we will wire the positioning version of the Easy Drive on the D4 valve assembly. As you can see, each terminal on the terminal cap has been labeled for convenience. Note that the power is polarity sensitive, therefore make sure that the power cabling has been properly installed and grounded before attempting to power the actuator. When looking at the analog input terminals, you should notice a 250 ohm resistor installed between terminals 3 and 4. This should be standard for all positioning units leaving the factory. If you do not see a 250 ohm resistor installed, please install the resistor before connecting the signal to the actuator. Analog signal wiring should be installed across terminals 3 and 4 along with the 250 ohm resistor, connecting the positive and negative signal wires respectively. Shielded signal wire is preferred in all installations and should be grounded at the signal source. The Easy Drive can communicate with either 4 to 20 milliamp or 1 to 5 volt input signal. If signal source is 1 to 5 volts, then the 250 ohm resistor needs to be removed. Once the cables have been secured to the terminals within the Easy Drive, you can now apply power to the unit. Once power has been applied to the unit, the signal can then be sent to the actuator. Initiating calibration procedures will cause your valve to move. If the valve is installed in line, be careful this does not cause an accident or an upset in your process. For analog calibration using the configuration software, we start by finding the travel endpoints via Modbus. Make sure the control source is checked to Modbus, then click Update. You are now controlling the valve with Modbus. Now click Recalibrate Span in the lower right-hand corner of the software. For the D4 valve, this should drive the valve plug into the seat and then return the travel to the Modbus span setting. In this case, we are at 65%. For a D3, the actuator should drive the valve all the way open until the red flow pro on the stem encounters the actuator casing, initiating a physical travel stop. Then drive the valve plug downward into the seat. After the valve has been seated, the stem will return to the travel of the Modbus span setting. In this case, we are at 65%. Leaving the factory, the flow pro will be installed to allow for full rated travel of 3/4 of an inch. After the unit has finished the calibration cycle, use the position demand in the upper left-hand corner and slide the dot all the way to the bottom. The valve should move to the closed position. Make sure that within the status bar, the actual position is listed as 0% travel. Now slide the dot to the top of the position demand and the valve should move to fully open. Make sure the actual position within the status bar reads 100% travel. If the purpose was to operate the valve using a Modbus control signal, you have finished calibration. Next, we are ready to calibrate using the analog control signal. On the configuration software, check local within the control source box. Make sure that if you intend using a 4 to 20 milliamp signal, that the 1 to 5 volt analog scaling is set. Then click Update. Using your analog signal device, apply 4 milliamps to the actuator. Once applied, click Analog Cal at 0%. And the valve should be closed and the actual position should also read 0% travel. Now using your analog signal device, apply a 20 milliamp signal to the actuator. Once the signal has been applied, click Analog Cal at 100%. And the valve should be fully open and the actuator position should read 100%. If the position is accurate, you have successfully calibrated your Easy Drive actuator and is ready to be commissioned in the field. For more information on the Fisher Easy Drive electric actuator, go to fisher.com/easydrive or contact your local Emerson sales office.